Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Blakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Vick. Work. Winder. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Hagedorn. Hill. Martin. Sidaway. Work.
Roll call shows 29 present, 6 absent, excused, quorum being present. Senate is in order. Senate will advance the second order of business. Prayer by Chaplain James Weberding and Pledge of Allegiance. We'd ask our friends in the gallery to rise and join us in prayer.
Good morning. This first day of spring serves as a reminder that we do not create life. We may watch and wonder at its spontaneous appearance. We may celebrate it, nurture it, but ultimately life itself is a gift. So I invite you today to join me in speaking with God about the gift. Heavenly Father, the Senate's reward for a long day yesterday is another full day. Yet they enjoy a much more inspiring reality: the opportunity to help life thrive for Idaho citizens. As spring awakens, life emerges everywhere, and we are reminded of the gift. I pray that you will please guide the Senate as they continue to grind and machine the tools to help life in Idaho prosper. Thank you for the gift of life and for the opportunity to nurture it. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Now be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by our page, Robin Croteau.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Senator Cameron will be recognized present at this order of business. Senate will advance, and Senator Brackett. Senate will advance third order of business, reading corrections journal.
March 20th, 2013. The Judiciary and Rules Committee reports that the Senate Journal of the proceedings of March 19th, 2013 was read and approved as corrected. Lodge Chairman.
The report will be filed in the Office of Secretary. Senator Davis.
Personal privilege, Mr. President.
You have the floor, Senator.
Mr. President, there's a roadmap for you today, and I have confidence that we've used our best GPS, but I do believe that we may have to recalculate the route occasionally throughout the day. Let me tell you where I think we are right now, however. We do have some work in the different orders of business administratively. It is our intention to go to the 10th order of business and to address in whatever the Senate's desire is, the work that is there. We will do our second reading calendar as well as begin work in the 13th order of business and pick up some of the legislation that is there. I do, however, want to call to your attention now that there are some bills that are currently in the 12th order of business that we may suspend on depending on management of work in the second or the third reading calendar. And I want to give you those numbers now. And so if you pull out your Senate calendar and go to page 2, you'll notice that what I'm going to identify are Senate bills that are not from the Finance Committee that we want to at least try to give them a fighting chance by scooting them off our floor, if that's your desire, and get them to the body across the rotunda. And so the bills will be as follows. And if you are the floor sponsor and you're hearing this for the first time and you say, I'm not ready, please let us know. Senate Bill 1151. So that's the top one. Senate Bill 1165. That's the second one. Then on to page 3 of the Senate calendar, you'll see Senate Bill 1178. And then the last two bills at the bottom of page 3, Senate Bills 1145, Senate Bill 1109 as amended. And then on the top of page 4, the top two bills that are there.
Senator, we missed a bill. You got a bill on your, what was the bill on page 3?
Oh, okay. 1179.
Ah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know what I said. I'm sure it was wrong
It was.
on all of the help I'm getting on this. So it would be on page 3, 1179, and then the last two on that, 1145 and 1109 is amended. And then on the top of page 4, Senate Bill 1049 is amended in the House. Well, actually, those are both concurrence, so we won't need to pick those up today. We will not suspend on those two. But otherwise, what we'll do is we'll start at the top of the third reading calendar, and we'll work our way through the bills that are there that are not JFAC bills. Those are the top two, and then we'll just manage it as the day goes along, and I'll try and give you as much lead time as possible. And if in my announcement I have disadvantaged anybody on the floor and you feel substantially disadvantaged, please call and visit with me so I can make sure we're fair and even-handed in that process. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to advance to the sixth order of business.
Prior to advancing, Senator Work and Senator Sidaway will be recognized present at this order of business. Senate will advance to the sixth, without objection. Senate will advance to sixth order of business reports to Standing Committee. Senate's at the sixth order of business.
March 20th, 2013, the Judiciary and Rules Committee reports that Senate Bill 1185, 1186, Senate Concurrent Resolution 128, and Senate Joint Memorial 102 have been correctly printed. Lodge, Chairman.
Senate Bill 1185 will refer to the State Affairs Committee. Senate Bill 1186 will refer to the Finance Committee. Senate Concurrent Resolution 128 and Senate Joint Memorial 102 will be referred to the 10th order of business and held for one legislative day.
March 19th, 2013, the Education Committee reports out House Bill 261, Senate Bills 1149 and 1150, and recommend that they do pass. Getty, Chairman.
House Bill 261 and Senate Bills 1149 and 1150 will refer to the 12th order of business.
March 20th, 2013, the Local Government and Taxation Committee reports out House Bill 138 and House Bill 242 and recommend that they do pass. Sit away, Chairman.
House Bill 138 and 242 will refer to the 12th order of business. Second reading.
There is no further business in the sixth order, Mr. President.
Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to advance to the ninth order of business.
Objection. Senate advance to the ninth order of business. Messages from the House.
March 19th, 2013. Mr. President, I transmit herewith House Bills 250, 275, 303, 304, 305, 306, 291, 80, 271, 231 as amended, House Joint Memorial 2, House Concurrent Resolutions 27 and 29, and House Bills 310 and 241, which have passed the House. Alexander, Chief Clerk.
House Bills 250, 275, 303, 304, 305, 306, 291, 80, 271. House Bill 231 is amended. House Joint Memorial Number 2. House Concurrent Resolution 27. House Concurrent Resolution 29. House Bill 310, 341 will all be referred to the 11th order of business.
March 19, 2013. Mr. President, I return herewith Senate Bill 1093 and Senate Bill 1097 as amended, which have passed the House. Alexander, Chief Clerk.
Senate Bill 1093 and Senate Bill 1097 is amended before the Judiciary and Rules Committee for enrolling.
March 19, 2013. Mr. President, I transmit herewith enrolled House Concurrent Resolution 12, House Bill 130 as amended in the Senate, and House Bill 167 as amended in the Senate for the signature of the President. Alexander, Chief Clerk.
The President has signed House Concurrent Resolution 12, House Bill 130 is amended in the Senate, and House Bill 167 is amended in the Senate, and they will be returned to the House.
March 19, 2013. Mr. President, I return herewith Senate Bills 1050, 1081, 1083, 1058, 1014, and Senate Bill 1032, which have been signed by the Speaker. Alexander, Chief Clerk.
Senate Bills 1050, 1081, 1083, 1058, 1014, 1032 will be referred to the Judiciary and Rules Committee for transmittal to the Governor.
There is no further business in the ninth order, Mr. President.
The Senate will advance 10th order of business. Senate's at the 10th order of business. Motions, resolutions.
President.
Cameron.
Mr. President, is HCR 14 in the 10th order of business?
It is to a date certain, which would be tomorrow, Senator.
Mr. President, for a unanimous consent request.
You have the floor.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that we send HCR 14 to the Resources and Environment Committee. May I explain?
You may.
Mr. President and Senators, this resolution was to reject a rule in the Department of Fish and Game. Many of us on the committee have worked with the department, and we think we have a path forward without rejecting the rule, and we actually find that the rule is better than the rule that was there previously. My thanks to the good chairman, Senator from 9 and Senator from 31 for their help, and other members of the committee who worked on this. I'm not referring to committee action, but just to them individually helping in this manner. Thank you, Mr. President.
You've heard the unanimous consent request that HCR 14 be referred to the Resource Committee. Hearing no objection, so ordered. Senator Durst will be recognized present at this order of business. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent. Senate go accept the call of the
Without
chair.
objection, Senator Beatty. Senator Work.
Mr. President, I believe that we have a class from Bora High School in the gallery today. Could you raise your hands if you're from Bora High School, please? Wow, we certainly do.
Got all the board.
I'd like to welcome you, and I'd like to ask the Senate to welcome you to the legislature today. We hope you have a great time.
Senate will come to order. Senate's the 10th order of business and has for final consideration Senate Concurrent Resolution 127. The Secretary will read the resolution.
In the Senate, Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 127 by State Affairs Committee, a concurrent resolution stating findings of the legislature and authorizing the Legislative Council to appoint a committee to monitor energy, environment, and technology issues.
Mr. President,
Senator McKenzie.
Mr. President, I'd ask unanimous consent that we dispense with further reading of Senate Concurrent Resolution 127, but our journal show it was read at length.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Senator McKenzie.
President, I move the adoption of SCR 127.
Senator Buckner-Webb.
Mr. President, I second the motion.
Been moved and seconded. The Senate adopts Senate Concurrent Resolution 127. Senator McKenzie is recognized to open debate on the resolution.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, this resolution would continue the authority for the Interim Committee on Energy, Environment, and Technology issues. Well, by your action, it wouldn't by the vote today, it wouldn't continue that. But what it would do, though, it would send it to the House side. Typically, I think when we have resolutions authorizing interim committees, it'll start on one side, go to the other side, and be held as, and then for leadership and JLOC to determine what committees would continue over the interim. But this is one that we typically have reauthorized from 2000, I guess the summer of 2006. We've had, or 2007, we've had this committee. It's generated statewide energy plan and has also served as a resource to help educate legislators on energy issues. And I think from that we've avoided some of the mistakes that our neighboring states may have made, making broad sweeping changes to energy policy that may have had expensive and long-lasting effects. And so I think this is a good committee. These are important issues. We're going to continue to have them, and I'd appreciate your consideration. Mr. President, that debate's open.
Debate being open for further debate on Senate Concurrent Resolution 127. Hearing no further debate, Senator McKenzie is recognized to close debate.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President. Debate's closed.
Debate being closed. Question is the Senate Concurrent Resolution. (127) passed. Senate Secretary will call the roll.
Baer. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Vick. Work. Winder. Bach. Hagedorn. Nonini.
Roll call shows 34 ayes, no nays, one absence, excused. Majority haven't voted affirmative for Senate Concurrent Resolution 127. Passed. Senate. The correction title. Hearing none. Title is approved. Senate Concurrent Resolution 127 will be transmitted to the House. Senate now as for final consideration. House Concurrent Resolution number 19. Secretary will read the bill.
In the House of Representatives, House Concurrent Resolution number 19 by Health and Welfare Committee. A concurrent resolution stating findings of the legislature and encouraging the inclusion of nutrition services as an integral component in the prevention and treatment of chronic disease. Be it resolved by the legislature of the state of Idaho, whereas nearly 62% of Idaho's adult residents are overweight or obese due to poor nutrition and physical inactivity, putting them at risk for...
Mr. President.
Senator Lodge.
Mr. President, I was just reading, I'm required to read the entire document. So, sorry, Madam Secretary. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of HCR 19 be dispensed with, and the journal show has been read at length, needless to say.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Senator Lodge.
Mr. President, I move the adoption of HCR 19.
Senator Bach.
Mr. President, I second the motion.
Been moved and seconded. Senate adopts House Concurrent Resolution number 19. Senator Lodge recognized open debate on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good Senators, this resolution is brought to us by the Idaho Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and the purpose of the resolution is twofold. It's to showcase the problem of physical inactivity and poor eating habits in Idaho, and to increase awareness of the role of nutrition and the physical activity play in a healthful lifestyle. The dietitians of Idaho can help the people of Idaho by providing nutrition education in schools, workplaces, and clinics, and by providing medical nutrition therapy, nutrition counseling, with an emphasis on prevention and to prevent and manage chronic diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, and high blood pressure. And just this morning, I was at a chamber meeting and met with some ladies who have a cosmetology school, and they were asking me if I knew anyone who could come and help them teach the young ladies and gentlemen in their cosmetology school about nutrition and healthy eating habits, and I will be referring them to this organization later on today. Dietitians can save healthcare costs by helping Idahoans achieve better health. They are ready to be a team player in working with other healthcare professionals such as physicians, physician's assistants, nurse practitioners to incorporate nutrition services in the prevention and treatment of chronic disease. It is known that nutrition is a factor in preventing most chronic diseases, and healthful eating habits last a lifetime. The main purpose of this resolution is to showcase that we have a problem of physical inactivity and poor eating habits in Idaho. And this legislation will have no physical impact. The legislation will aid in writing and securing grants and foundation dollars needed for projects, interventions, and research to improve the health and reduce healthcare costs for our Idaho citizens. And with that explanation, Mr. President, debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Lodge recognized closed debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, question is the House Concurrent Resolution 19 passed the Senate. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed nay. The ayes have it. House Concurrent Resolution 19 is passed the Senate. The correction title, hearing none, title is approved, and House Concurrent Resolution 19 will be returned to the House. Senate now is for final consideration the report of the Resources Environment Committee on the appointment of Brent Baker to the Lake Pend Oreille Basin Commission. The Secretary will read the report.
March 18, 2013, the Resources and Environment Committee reports it has had under consideration the gubernatorial appointment of Brent Baker to the Lake Pend Oreille Basin Commission, term to expire July 24, 2014. The committee recommends that said appointment be confirmed by the Senate. Pierce, Chairman.
Mr. President.
Senator Baird.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate adopt the committee report.
Senator Buckner-Webb.
Mr. President, I second the motion.
Been moved and seconded that the Senate adopt the report of the Resource and Environment Committee. Senator Baird is recognized open debate on the committee report.
Mr. President, thank you. Mr. Baker is being reappointed, actually, to the Pend Oreille Basin Commission. He was one of the original members of the commission when they was first started by Governor Kempthorne some years ago, and has served continuously since that time. He has had experience and brought to bear influence on the protection of one of Idaho's most precious natural resources, Lake Pend Oreille. They also deal with issues upstream and downstream and from the lake. Mr. Baker is a building contractor and a developer by profession and belongs to the Panhandle Builders Contract Association and the National Association of Home Builders. He served on a number of other commissions, or several other commissions, one of which he served as a trustee and chairman of the Bonner County School District, number 82. He served also as a fire district commissioner. Mr. Baker has indicated that in his opinion, the Pend Oreille Commission has actually been much more effective than they anticipated it would be. They've been able to help mitigate several problems with developers and developments around the lake and have helped preserve the heart and the soul of the lake and the economy and the environment around it. Mr. Baker says that there are four main issues that the Commission is dealing with right now. First of all, the invasive species, of course, is a pretty serious issue up there, dealing with the milfoil and quagga and zebra mussels. They are concerned about erosion and some of the problems with the establishment of several dams that are tied to the lake. They are concerned about the establishment and maintenance of fisheries. And then the last issue he indicated that the commission is dealing with is water levels at the lake. Seems like everybody wants a cut of Idaho's water. And with that, Mr. President, I highly recommend Mr. Baker and ask for your aye vote. Debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Baer is recognized to close debate.
Mr. President, thank you. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, the Senate adopt the report of the Resource and Environment Committee on the appointment of Brent Baker to the Lake Pend Oreille Commission. All in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been adopted, and the governor will be so notified. The Senate now has the report of the Resources and Environment Committee on the appointment of Ford Alsasser to the Lake Pend Oreille Basin Commission. The Secretary will read the report.
March 18, 2013, the Resources and Environment Committee reports it has had under consideration the gubernatorial appointment of Ford Alsasser to the Lake Pend Oreille Basin Commission, term to expire July 24, 2015. The committee recommends that said appointment be confirmed by the Senate. Pierce, Chairman.
Mr. President.
Senator Keogh.
Excuse me. Mr. President, I move that the Senate adopt the committee report.
Senator Buckner-Webb.
I second the motion, Mr. President.
Been moved and seconded. Senate adopt the report of the Resource and Environment Committee. Senator Keogh is recognized to open debate on the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. President and Senators. Before you is this reappointment confirmation of Ford Alsasser to the Lake Pend Oreille Basin Commission. And I want to thank the senator from 31 and the senator from 23 in carrying these reappointments as well. This is an important commission for District 1, and now District 7 senator also joins in a portion of that lake and watershed. And it's critical because the citizens have a seat at the table, so to speak, in making sure that the concerns of the communities around those waterways, not only Lake Pend Oreille, but Priest Lake and the Pend Oreille River and the Priest River, are paid attention to when regulatory agencies at the state and at the federal level and our neighbors downstream decide that they want to do something with our water. And so this morning with Ford Alsasser, I bring to you a gentleman who is very well qualified to continue his service. Ford was also originally appointed to the commission when the legislature established this, and he has been chairman of this commission since his inception. Ford has a very lengthy resume and very distinguished in his background and his career. He has a bachelor's degree in forestry, which I don't think I knew until this moment. He is a Juris Doctor. He graduated from the University of Idaho, and he was admitted to the bar in Idaho State Bar and U.S. District Court for District Court of Idaho in 1978, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in 1992, and the United States Supreme Court in 1994. Ford is one of those citizens that Idaho is blessed with. He donates his time as an adjunct professor for the University of Idaho Law School and has since 2005. His area of specialty is in bankruptcy, and he has a very long resume, very impressive in that field. He also has other work that he's done in the legal profession, and he always likes to remind me to let the Senate know that he also has worked with the seed growers and represented 1,000 seed growers, 200 of which were in Idaho, as special counsel in agribiotech. And I imagine those in that industry will know what that means. It was a pretty significant case, and Ford is proud of his work there on behalf of some of the agricultural interests in Idaho. He has testified before Congress on issues of importance, and I offer this background to let you know that he is very well qualified in the role on the commission and in his role as chairman, particularly when it comes to negotiating with tribal interests or federal government interests, and being a liaison for the state of Idaho. And I would highly recommend 4-2 for this confirmation. And with that, debate is open.
For the debate of the committee report. Hearing no further debate, Senator Keough is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President and Senators. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, question is, shall the Senate adopt the report of the Resource and Environment Committee on the appointment of Ford Alsacer to the Lake Pend Oreille Basin Commission? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been adopted. The governor will be so notified. The Senate now has for final consideration the report of the Resources and Environment Committee on the appointment of Mark Brinkmeyer to the Lake Pend Oreille Basin Commission. Secretary will read the report.
March 18, 2013, the Resources and Environment Committee reports it has had under consideration the gubernatorial appointment of Mark Brinkmeyer to the Lake Pend Oreille Basin Commission. Term
Mr. President,
Term to expire July 24, 2014. The committee recommends that said appointment be confirmed by the Senate. Pierce, Chairman.
Senator Brackett.
thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate adopt the committee report.
Senator Buckner-Webb.
I second the motion.
Been moved and seconded that the Senate adopt the report of the Resource Environment Committee. Senator Brackett is recognized to open debate on the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I'm proud to present the reappointment of Mark Brinkmeyer of Sandpoint to a 2-year term on the Lake Pend Oreille Basin Commission. Mr. Brinkmeyer comes to Idaho from Iowa, where his grandparents migrated from Germany in the late 1890s. As a youth, he worked alongside his father and other family members at the local lumber yard, where he would unload boxcars in preparation for their spring business. He learned to work hard and has since maintained a strong work ethic. Through his hard work, Mr. Brinkmeyer was able to put himself through college. He started in engineering, but changed to finance and accounting. He got a job with Arthur Anderson and Company in Chicago and later in Portland, Oregon, where we worked with their forest product clients. From there, he became ingrained in the forest products industry, and in 1981, he bought the Idaho sawmill in Laseed, in Idaho. It became Riley Creek Lumber Company. The Laseed plant is Riley Creek's flagship sawmill. It produces 40 million board feet of lumber annually. The company's success has been outstanding. It's one of the largest lumber producers in Idaho, with more than 600 million board feet of kiln-dried lumber produced annually from its 3 sawmills. In 2008, Mr. Brinkmeyer merged his mills with Bennett Forest Industries mill in Grainesville. The resulting Idaho Forest Group is owned 70% by Riley Creek and 30% by Bennett Forest. Mr. Brinkmeyer is the chairman of Idaho Forest Group and the sole owner of Riley Creek. Riley Creek Lumber Company goal is to continue their tradition of building their business of crafting the best lumber through excellent timber, employee talent, and evolving technology. I'm so impressed with Mr. Brinkmeyer's can-do attitude. He turns challenges into opportunities. With the downturn of the economy in the last, at the end of 2008, 2009, he has the statement of the economy downturn has been a beneficial challenge, and he's used that to further advance their company. And he uses that attitude in anything that in any endeavor that he takes on. Mr. Brinkmeyer has been actively involved in his church and his community. His greatest satisfaction comes from the scholarship program Riley Creek has sponsored for the past 25 years. They offer educational opportunities to their employees spouses, and their employees' dependents in any field of study that they choose. Though his many accomplishments, Mr. Brinkmeyer has contributed to the social, economic development of his community and his state. I have no doubt that Mark will bring great passion and perspective to his role on the Pend Oreille Basin Commission. With that, Mr. President, debate is open.
May be open for further debate on the committee report. Hearing no further debate, Senator Brackett is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mark Brinkmeyer will make an excellent reappointment on the Pend Oreille Commission. I ask for your support. With that, Mr. President, debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall the Senate adopt the report of the Resources and Environment Committee on Mark Brinkmeyer from Laclede to the Lake Pend Oreille Basin Commission? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been adopted, and the governor will be so notified. Senator Davis.
There's no further business in the 10th order, Mr. President.
Senate advance the 11th order of business. First reading and introduction of bills. Senate's at the 11th order of business. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that all bills on first reading be read by number, author, and title only, and the general show they've been read at length.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 250 by Revenue and Taxation Committee, an act relating to sales tax exemptions, to provide that sales by Girl Scouts of America of cookies for human consumption shall be exempt from specified taxing provisions. In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 275 by Education Committee, an act relating to education, to provide that a district may utilize up to 15% of certain monies to pay another school district or public charter school for certain services or to defray certain costs. In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 303 by Appropriations Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Idaho State Police for fiscal year 2014. In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 304 by Appropriations Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Idaho State Police for brand inspection and the Racing Commission for fiscal year 2014. In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 305 by Appropriations Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Department of Juvenile Corrections for fiscal year 2014. In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 306 by Appropriations Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Supreme Court for fiscal year 2014. In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 291 by Health and Welfare Committee, an act relating to hospitalization of the mentally ill, to provide that a minor who is suffering from a serious emotional disturbance and poses a danger to himself or others may be temporarily detained by a health care professional without a hearing. In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 80 by Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee, an act relating to enhanced emergency communication grant fees. In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 271 by Revenue and Taxation Committee, an act relating to water quality, to clarify the Director's considerations in designating beneficial uses and to provide that the Director consult with basin advisory groups and watershed advisory groups. In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 231 as amended by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to public works, to provide an exception to the employment of residents of Idaho in public works. In the House of Representatives, House Joint Memorial Number 2 by State Affairs Committee, a joint memorial to the Chairman of the Federal Communications Commission and to the congressional delegation representing the state of Idaho in Congress of the United States. In the House of Representatives, House Concurrent Resolution Number 27 by State Affairs Committee, a concurrent resolution providing for printing the session laws, fixing the price for printing the same, and the price which the public shall be charged for copies of the session laws. In the House of Representatives, House Concurrent Resolution Number 29 by Ways and Means Committee, a concurrent resolution stating legislative findings and recognizing the Idaho Public Utilities Commission on its 100th anniversary. In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 310 by Appropriations Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Department of Health and Welfare for the divisions of independent counsels, indirect support services, and licensing and certification for fiscal year 2014. In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 241 by Health and Welfare Committee, an act relating to scrap dealers, to revise provisions of records required for purchasing non-ferrous or stainless steel metal property from the general public, to include certain photographs or digital recordings.
House Bill 250 will be referred to the Local Government and Taxation Committee. House Bill 275 will refer to the Education Committee. House Bills 303, 304, 305, and 306 will all be referred to the Finance Committee. House Bill 291 will be referred to the Health and Welfare Committee. House Bill 80 will be referred to the Local Government and Taxation Committee. House Bill 271 will be referred to the Resources and Environment Committee. House Bill 231 is amended. House Joint Memorial 2, House Concurrent Resolution 27, and House Concurrent Resolution 29 will all be referred to the State Affairs Committee. House Bill 310 will be referred to the Finance Committee, and House Bill 241 will be referred to the Judiciary and Rules.
There is no further business in the 11th order, Mr. President.
Senate advances 12th order of business, second reading of bill. Senate's at the 12th order of business. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that all bills on second reading be read by number and author only, and the journal show they've been read at length.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 293 by Appropriations Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 239 by Health and Welfare Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 30 as amended by Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 125 by Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1151 by Judiciary and Rules Committee. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1165 by Judiciary and Rules Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 296 by Appropriations Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 297 by Appropriations Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 298 by Appropriations Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 299 by Appropriations Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 300 by Appropriations Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 301 by Appropriations Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 302 by Appropriations Committee. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1180 by Finance Committee. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1181 by Finance Committee. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1182 by Finance Committee. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1183 by Finance Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 171 as amended by Transportation and Defense Committee. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1179 by State Affairs Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 248 by Health and Welfare Committee. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1145 by State Affairs Committee. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1109 as amended by Judiciary and Rules Committee. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1049 as amended in the House by Resources and Environment Committee. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1013 as amended in the House by Health and Welfare Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 142 as amended in the Senate, as amended in the Senate by Health and Welfare Committee.
House Bills 293, 239, House Bill 30 is amended, and House Bill 125. Senate Bills 1151, 1165, House Bill 296, 297, 298, 299, 300, 301, 302, and Senate Bills 1180, 1181, 1182, 1183. House Bill 171 is amended, Senate Bill 1179, House Bill 248, Senate Bill 1145, Senate Bill 1109 as amended, Senate Bill 1049 is amended in the House, Senate Bill 1013 is amended in the House, and House Bill 142 is amended in the Senate, is amended in the Senate, will all be referred to the 13th order of business, third reading calendar.
There is no further business in the 12th order, Mr.
Senate
President.
will advance 13th order of business, third reading of bill. Senate's at the 13th order of business and has for final consideration Senate Bill 1126. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1126 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to lottery prizes.
Mr. President.
Senator Lodge.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1126 be dispensed with, and the journal show has been read for the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objection, Senator Lodge is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good senators, this is a clarification bill, and what Senate Bill 1126 clarifies is the concern that the existing procedure for the lottery's withholding and set aside of winner's lottery prize winnings for partial or full satisfaction of that winner's outstanding child support or state tax debt was ambiguous in Idaho Code. This legislation makes clear the long-standing practice of how funds are transferred to Health and Welfare and the Idaho State Tax Commission from the Lottery Commission. The long-standing and current practice is that the Department of Health and Welfare provide notice of the withholding of prize money to the affected prize-winning debtor. Withholding for outstanding taxes owed based upon existing tax liens is pursuant to Section 633060 Idaho Code. Senate Bill 1126 amends Idaho Code 56203E, Health and Welfare, to make it clear that set-off funds are immediately transferred. There is a 14-day hold on the funds to allow for appeal, but the funds once transferred, are held by Health and Welfare pending appeal, not the Idaho Lottery. Idaho Code 677337, Idaho Lottery, makes it clear the same procedure applies to set-off funds for the State Tax Commission as well. In fiscal year 2012, the lottery withheld and immediately transferred $35,444 to Health and Welfare and $13,389 to the Idaho State Tax Commission. Good Senators, this legislation does not change existing practice or procedures, and there's no fiscal impact to the general fund. With that explanation, Mr. President, debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Lodge is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, so Senate Bill 1126 pass. Senate Secretary will call the roll.
Bear, Bayer, Bach, Brackett, Buckner-Webb, Cameron, Davis, Durst, Fulcher, Getty, Guthrie, Hagedorn, Hyder, Hill, Johnson, Keogh, Lacey, Lakey, Lodge, Martin, McKenzie, Mortimer, Nonini, Nuxel, Patrick, Pierce, Rice, Schmidt, Sidaway, Stennett, Thane, Tippett, Fick, Work, Winder, Bach, Buckner-Webb, Davis, Getty, Hagedorn,
Roll call shows 34 ayes, no nays, 1 absent, excused. Majority haven't voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1126 passed the Senate. The correction title, hearing none, titles approved. Senate Bill 1126 will be transmitted to the House. Senate now is for final consideration. Senate Bill 1127. Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1127 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to bingo and raffles. To revise.
Mr. President.
Senator Work.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1127 be dispensed with. The general show has been read at length a third time, and it's before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objection, Senator Work is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Senate. I'm really pleased to present this bill. You know, the Office of Performance Evaluations does a lot of very good work for the legislature evaluating executive agencies. In this instance, OPE did a report on the operations of the Lottery Commission, made a bunch of recommendations, and that report is available online if you want to see it. But what the Lottery Commission has done, and I very much congratulate them, is they took those recommendations to heart, and they actually dove into their statutes and made changes that were recommended by the Office of Performance Evaluations in that audit report. And they've also, in doing so, they've gone in and done some cleanup. For instance, they had some things about charitable Christmas tree issues that don't any longer apply, so they took those out. But what they've done is they've reduced the unnecessary regulatory burden on nonprofit corporations, and they've also reduced the workload on lottery staff. They've clarified timeframes for record retention for nonprofit organization. They've removed references again to the holiday Christmas tree fundraisers, since they don't constitute gaming, and removed the prize maximums for raffles from Idaho Code to provide for that they be set by the Lottery Commission to coincide with how bingo prize maximums are handled. So they've consolidated their code and made it more uniform. They've made some other changes that have been very helpful, removing inconsistencies in code and clarifying certain ambiguities in statutory language, and they've eliminated a lot of outdated and unnecessary code and wording in their statutes. I'd like to really congratulate them again on acting so rapidly on a February 2012 report from OPE, and commend them again for their efforts. Mr. President, with that, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there further debate? on Senate Bill 1127? Hearing no further debate, Senator Work is recognized. Close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Debate's closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, till Senate Bill 1127 passes, the Senate Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sitaway. Stennett. Dane. Tippett. Fick. Work. Winder. Hagedorn. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Pierce.
Roll call shows 34 ayes, no nays, 1 absent, excused. Majority haven't voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1127 passed the Senate to the correction of title. Hearing none, title is approved. Senate Bill 1127 will be transmitted to the House. Senate now is for final consideration. Senate Bill 1167. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1167 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Secretary of State for fiscal year 2000.
Mr. President.
Senator Nuxall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1167 be dispensed with and that the journal show it has been read the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objections, Senator Nuxall is recognized to open debate.
This is the fiscal year 2014 appropriation for the Office of the Secretary of State. This bill includes a 1.7% salary increase for the Secretary of State as provided for in Section 59501 Idaho Code. In addition to changes for employee benefit costs and the statewide cost allocation process, this bill includes $40,000 on a one-time basis for the publication of the Idaho Blue Book and removes 2 FTP that are not funded. The bill also includes $41,000 for the Commission on Uniform Laws. The total appropriation is for 27 FTP and $1,991,400, all from the general fund. The debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Nuxall is recognized to close debate.
Debate is closed.
Debate being closed. The question is, so Senate Bill 1167 passed, the Senate Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sitaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Fick. Work. Winder. Hagedorn. Lacey. Lodge.
Roll call shows 33 ayes, 1 nay, 1 absent excused. Majority haven't voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1167 passed the Senate. The correction title. Hearing none, the title is approved. Senate Bill 1167 will be transmitted to the House. Senate now is for final consideration. Senate Bill 1168. Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1168 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Idaho Public Television for fiscal year 2014, limiting the number of authorized full-time equivalent positions, and providing guidance for employee compensation.
Mr. President.
Senator Mortimer.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1168 be dispensed with and the journal show it has been read the third time, section by section, and is placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objections, Senator Mortimer is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, this is the 2014 appropriation for Idaho Public Television. In addition to adjustments to employee benefit costs in the statewide cost allocation process, this bill includes and provides $4,900 for various contractual adjustments and $296,400 to replace the agency phone system, upgrade for digital storage, replace a vehicle with over 200,000 miles, restore coverage to the Salmon, Chalice, Leadore communities, and provides for some preventative maintenance to minimize the loss of coverage in other rural areas. This budget also includes $116,500 and one additional FTP for continued service of Legislature Live by covering associated personnel costs and $5,700 of one-time money for IT equipment. Finally, the reason it appears the agency budget has grown by more than 200% is because this budget reflects the inclusion of privately donated funds that have previously been recognized as non-cognizable by the Division of Financial Management. These donated dollars are not new money, but rather being recognized in the appropriation process. I apologize, fellow senators, for bringing two budgets that show over 200%, but it is part of the process of bringing off-balance sheet items onto the balance sheet so that we can recognize them and appropriate them. I would ask your aye vote.
For the debate. Hearing no further debate, Senator Mortimer is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Debate being closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1168 pass the Senate? The Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Vick. Work. Winder. Durst. Getty. Hagedorn. Lakey. Pierce.
No.
Rice. Work.
Roll call shows 29 ayes, 5 nays, 1 absent, excused, majority having voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1168 is passed. Senate, the correction title, hearing none, title is approved. Senate Bill 1168 will be transmitted to the House. Senate now has for final consideration Senate Bill 1169. Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1169 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Board of Tax Appeals for fiscal year 2014, limiting the number of authorized full-time equivalent positions, and providing guidance for employee compensation. Be it enacted by the Legislature of the State of Idaho. Section 1. There is hereby appropriated to the
Objection, Senator Dedes. Senate will come to order. Nope.
Mr. President.
We're Dedes.
No.
Here we are, Dedes. Take a breath. Senate will come to order. Senate's 13th order of business. Senator Vick.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1169 be dispensed with and the journal show it has been read the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
We're part way there. Senator Vick is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good senators. This bill appropriates $504,800 to the Board of Tax Appeals for fiscal year 2014 and limits the number of full-time equivalent positions to 5. The Board of Tax Appeals provides taxpayers the opportunity to appeal their ad valorem assessed valuations from a county board of equalization or tax decisions from the Idaho State Tax Commission. If you will look at the fiscal note, starting with the base, the bill includes $4,500 for benefit cost adjustment, $1,100 to replace a personal computer, and $1,400 for statewide cost allocation. Line item 1 provides $19,900 to increase board personnel costs. This line item will provide for 90 days of honoraria, up from the current funding level of 50 days. The board will use staff salary savings to pay the additional days for the rest of fiscal year 2013. The late longtime chairman and former Senator Lyle Cobb had not been taking honoraria for a number of years, which helped the board get through the budget cuts. But with the appointment of a new board member, this appropriation is necessary to pay honoraria at the historical average for working days. The Board of Tax Appeals is down to a staff of 5 and relies entirely on the general fund for its support. There is no other funding source. The 2012 calendar year caseload was about 699, which is down from 1,107 in calendar year 2011. Assessments will be coming out the last of May or the 1st of June. This 2014 budget provides enough funding to handle about 550 appeals. The hope for this budget is that the property tax appeals maintain a manageable level in calendar year 2013 so that a supplemental is not necessary next session. Overall, the budget is a 5.6% increase over the fiscal year 2013 original appropriation. When this year budget is included, however, the Board of Tax Appeal has been reduced 19.5%, or $118,500 since 2009. With that, debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Vick is recognized to close debate.
Thank you for your indulgence, and debate is closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, so Senate Bill 1169 passed the Senate. Senator Winder. Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Vick. Work. Winder. Durst. Hagedorn.
Roll call shows 33 ayes, 1 nay, 1 absent. Excused. Majority haven't voted affirmative. Senate Bill 1169 passed the Senate. The correction title. Hearing none. Titles approved. And Senate Bill 1169 will be transmitted to the House. Senate House for final consideration. Senate Bill 1170. Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1170 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Soil and Water Conservation Commission for fiscal year 2014, limiting the number of authorized...
Mr. President.
Senator Thane.
I'd ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1170 be dispensed with and show in the journal that's been read the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for proper consideration.
Hearing no objection, Senator Thane is recognized to open debate.
Thank you. This is the fiscal year 2014 appropriation for the Soil and Water Conservation Commission in the amount of $2,357,000 from the general fund and $342,000 dedicated funds for a total of $2,699,000. This bill caps the number of authorized full-time equivalent positions at 16. Similar to all appropriations bills to agencies that include state employees, the bill includes funding for the employer's share of increased costs of health insurance, which are increased by 6.4%, and retirement benefits, which are increased by 9%. This amounts to $13,600 for the 13 positions in the Soil and Water Conservation Commission. No funding is provided for the employee's share of the increase for health insurance or retirement benefits. Employees will have to absorb any additional costs. However, the bill provides guidance for employee compensation, encouraging the Division of Financial Management to approve the use of salary savings for one-time or ongoing merit-based pay increases. Next, the budget includes a reduction of $11,100 to reflect a decrease in state controller and attorney general fees. The appropriation includes an additional $50,000 from the general fund to increase the state's support for individual soil and water conservation districts. The current year distribution is $1,053,200. So this additional appropriation represents a 4.7% increase in district support. With this increase, 47% of the general funds in this budget will go directly to the districts. The bill also provides the Commission the authority to spend up to $20,000 received from agencies for technical services provided them by the Commission. In summary, the appropriation is a 2.2% increase in general funds, but a 0.3% decrease in all funds due to a removal of one-time federal grant. With that, debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Thane is recognized to close debate.
Debate is closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, so Senate Bill 1170 passes the Senate. Secretary will call the roll.
Air. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Fick. Work. Winder. Getty. Hagedorn. Lacey. Pierce. Sidaway.
Roll call shows 32 ayes, 1 nay, 2 absent. Excuse, majority having voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1170 is passed. Senate, the correction title. Hearing none, the title is approved. Senate Bill 1170 will be transmitted to the House. Senate now is for final consideration. Senate Bill 1171. Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1171 by Finance Committee. An act appropriating monies to the Department of Agriculture for fiscal year 2014, limiting the number of authorized full-time equivalent.
Mr. President.
Senator Thane.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent that the further reading of Senate Bill 1171 be dispensed with, and the journal show it's been read at length and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objections, Senator Thane is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. And good senators, this is the bill appropriates $35,788,500 to the Department of Agriculture for fiscal year 2014. It provides funding for the employee's share of increased health insurance and retirement costs, and provides funding for replacement items as requested by the department. The bill provides funding for 5 line items: $900,000 in ongoing federal or general fund support for Eurasian water milfoil containment, $69,700 in dedicated funding for an additional weights and measure inspector in the Burley area, $20,000 in dedicated funding for additional staff hours to support the IDO Preferred Program and Certificate of Free Sale Program. $120,000 in dedicated funding to increase the number of unusable pesticide collection weeks and to provide for additional operating support for the container recycling program. And fifth, authorization to transfer up to $40,000 from the Rural Economic Development and Integrated Freight Transportation Fund to the Idaho Department of Transportation to update the state rail plan. The bill includes legislative intent requesting the department to work with the Department of Fish and Game to fund up to $100,000 for a project to evaluate and monitor the impacts of raven control on sage grouse survival. The overall fiscal year 2014 budget for the Department of Agriculture is a 0.8% increase in the general fund, but is a 1.8% decrease in all funds from the 2013 budget. The decrease is due to removal of one-time federal stimulus monies authorized for forest fuel reduction grants. And with that, Mr. President, I'd ask the debate is open.
For the debate. Hearing no further debate, Senator Thane is recognized to close debate.
Debate is closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, so Senate Bill 1171 pass the Senate Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce.
Mr. President.
Senator Pierce.
60 seconds to explain my vote.
60 seconds, Senator.
You know, Senate, we blew by that bill pretty fast, and I want you to recognize that in that bill, $100,000 you heard about from Fish and Game that's going to raven control, that's a very important thing for our state. Sage grouse are threatened species to be listed. We're studying at the University of Idaho, but we're doing nothing about predators. And Nevada has found that predator control has been very effective in increasing sage grouse numbers. And so this money is going to an excellent cause. I just want you to be aware of that. I'll be voting yes.
Senator Pierce will be recorded as voting aye.
Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Vick. Work. Winder. Hagedorn. Sidaway.
Roll call shows 32 ayes, 1 nay, 2 absent, excused, majority having voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1171 is passed. Senate, the correction title. Hearing none, title is approved. Senate Bill 1171 will be transmitted to the House. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, personal privilege.
You have the floor.
Mr. President, Senators, we're going to hop around a little bit now. And so if you'll go to page 2, the top of that page, you'll see Senate Bill 1151. Although it appears on your calendar, in the third reading calendar, you may recall that we read it earlier today, and so it is in the 13th order of business. At least I'll confirm that here in a moment. So we're going to first take up 1151, then 1165, and then on page 3 we'll start with 1179, 1145, and if time, 1109. We do not intend to pick up the two on the back of page 2. Mr. President, is Senate Bill 1151 in this order of business?
Somewhere, we'll find it. It is.
Mr. President, I move that all rules of the Senate interfering with the immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1151 be suspended.
Senator Work.
I second the motion.
Been moved and seconded that all rules of the Senate dealing with immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1171 be suspended. The Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty, Guthrie, Hagedorn, Hyder, Hill, Johnson, Keough, Lacey, Lakey, Lodge, Martin, McKenzie, Mortimer, Nonini, Nuxel, Patrick, Pierce, Rice, Schmidt, Sitaway, Stennett, Thane, Tippett, Vick, Work, Winder, Buckner Webb, Hagedorn, Sitaway,
Roll call shows 33 ayes, 1 nay, 1 absent excused. The majority have, or 2/3 having voted in the affirmative. All rules of the Senate dealing with immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1151 have been suspended. Senate now has for final consideration Senate Bill 1151. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1151 by Judiciary and Rules Committee, an act relating to criminal procedure to revise provisions when relief from a felony conviction may be granted and to provide procedures.
Mr. President.
Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent for the reading of Senate Bill 1151 be suspended and the journal show has been read at length and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objections, Senator Davis is recognized. Open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, people make mistakes. I do. People change. I sometimes do. Especially our young people make mistakes. And sometimes crimes are committed and prosecution occurs and convictions happen. I understand from my friends in the social science and in the medical world that brain development takes normally to about a person's mid-20s before that development has mostly occurred. Fortunately, we have other skilled professionals here that can put a finer point on that if we need to. If I have a young person at age 18 that participates in misconduct for which a felony is charged and a conviction order is in place, and over the next many years they mature out of where they were, there are not the type of statutory remedies that I think we as a state want to have. And these convictions impact long-term their lives. No matter how much education, no matter the quality of their marriage, or the nurturing and strong environment of their family, no matter how much change they have done in their life, and no matter how much time has elapsed, there is no statutory authority for a district court judge to reconsider whether there should be some relief given. This bill takes an additional step in providing some relief. You will notice that there is no suggested modifications in Section 1 of the bill, particularly as it relates to drug courts and mental health court programs. Additionally, the heart of the bill is what you find in Section 3, which is on page 2 of the bill. This issue was an important issue to the courts. I acknowledge that we do have some district court judge who believe that they have the implied authority as a judge to interact and to consider it. But we have many district court judges who want to grant some relief, believe that it is good public policy for the state of Idaho to provide some relief, but say to good counsel, show me where I have the authority to do it. And so the members of the judiciary, as an important component of what they hope we will consider, is this issue. Now, it is brought to you late because there has been a great deal of effort and negotiation between the members of the court and also the Prosecuting Attorneys Association. We do live in the world of the possible. And in the art of the possible, you have Senate Bill 1151. The agreement that we seek your consideration to codify provides that if a defendant is convicted of a felony, they may apply to the sentencing court for a reduction of the conviction from the felony to a misdemeanor. I hope we have an opportunity to review subsequent legislation that even talks about dismissals of misdemeanors. Unfortunately, that is not in this bill today. If you look then at subpart B, it says that if 5 years or less have elapsed from the discharge from probation, and in the event that the prosecuting attorney stipulates to the relief, a petition can be filed and the court can consider it. It does not mean that the court will enter the order. You look down instead to subpart D, which is on line 44 of that page, where the court then will exercise their discretion. In the event, however, it is within that 5-year time period and the prosecutor is unwilling to sign the stipulation, then there is not an immediate remedy. That gets you to subpart C. If you have 5 years or more that have elapsed, then if the prosecuting attorney is willing to stipulate to it, the court can again consider it, and it can apply to any crime. But in the event that the petition is filed, the prosecutor is unwilling to stipulate to it, then the court can still use its discretion except for the 15 crimes listed in Romanets 1 through Romanet 15 on lines 22 through 42 or 3. My eyes don't line that up quite right. Well, how was that list created? Well, frankly, it was the give and take between the judiciary and the Prosecuting Attorneys Association. There was a request by some for less, and there was a request by others for more, and this is what you have before you. You'll notice, however, that there is nothing in Romanets 1 through 15 that speak of the sex crimes and those that provide for registration on the sex crimes registry. But if you'll go now to page 3, subpart 4 provides that those offenses are included here. And so both the members of the court and the Prosecuting Attorneys Association tell me that I can have comfort and confidence that those are appropriately addressed. That is the bill. Had I hoped for more? I had. Do I believe that this legislature and subsequent legislatures will do more and make other modifications? Yes, I do. But that is not the opportunity we have today. Debate is open.
Debate. Senator Stinnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the good senator from 33 yield to a
Senator
question?
Davis, would you yield?
I will yield.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good senator. You had mentioned that this just refers to a reduction or relief from felony convictions and not misdemeanors. And I wanted to know, in your efforts, having worked with everyone involved, with the judges and the prosecutors and such, whether there would be political will or possibility of also including misdemeanors in the future to this bill.
Senator Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wished I had the professional experience that the senator from 13 has. I don't. This is not an area of law that I practice in. I'm always trying to work in an Article 9 secured transaction component to every bill we have, and apparently it's not relevant in Title 18. That was kind of an inside joke for the lawyers. And no, it wasn't. But I am hopeful that if this passes and becomes law, that after a period of time, current concerns can soften, and current positions will change, and we'll have a chance to review that. So that's my hope, at least.
Mr. President, would the senator yield further?
Senator Davis, would you yield?
I will yield.
Senator Stinnett.
You to both of you. The next, I don't notice it in the language, but was there any discussion or the possibility, was there talk or is there anything in the bill that would address expungement of records or just to reduce it to misdemeanor?
Senator Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator from 26. This bill does not speak in terms of expungement. It talks in terms of a reduction from the felony to the misdemeanor. I too believe that we'll have an opportunity to review whether expungement will be appropriate for us to consider in subsequent sessions. I don't believe, however, you'll see it with these same standards. There'll have to be a continued negotiation on that. So this legislature, this Senate, in prior years considered expungement legislation, and some are still here that were there then, and that bill did not fare well. And so we're taking what we can do today, and it is not an expungement bill.
Mr. President, to debate the bill, please.
Senator Stinnett, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, good senators, and I want to commend the good senator from 33. This is certainly a huge step in the right direction. I know it's not easy amongst all the players that he had to speak to make this happen, and I will support this bill. I just wanted to I have a couple of folks in my my district that have expressed, as the good senator mentioned, that that we make mistakes in our youth, and sometimes it goes a little sideways, and it probably wasn't intentional. You get having fun, you end up someplace you didn't think you'd be, and you end up in trouble. For the misdemeanors in particular, and the big issue here was felony, and I commend him for that, but there oftentimes are misdemeanors, and these kids end up going and doing their community service and doing everything that is right. They come from good families. They're not mischievous kids. They just end up sideways. And it is sometimes told to them that if they do all that they're told to do by the courts to rectify it, that their records are expunged. And that simply isn't true in Idaho law. And so it's unfortunate because they go on thinking that they've done all that they were asked to by the courts, and they go off to try to get a job or do something that's important to their advancement in their adult life, and it comes back to haunt them. So I hope at some point in the future that we have the ability, at least for just misdemeanors, to readdress this bill and to understand that we want to give our youth all the best possibilities, especially when they've done all they can to correct a misstep. And I will be supporting the bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Further debate? Senator Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. President, for inquiry.
Senator Davis.
Sponsor.
I'll
Senator
yield.
Schmidt for the inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really like this bill, and I'd like to support it. I need a clarification. Line 21, page 2, when it's 2021, the application shall be granted only if the prosecuting attorney stipulates to the reduction. And so my question is, when we're referring to the prosecuting attorney, is that the prosecuting attorney that filed the original charges? Is that the prosecuting attorney that is the currently, since it may be 5 years later, currently serving under the jurisdiction? So that's my question.
Senator Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator from 5. It would be the duly elected prosecuting attorney or that prosecuting attorney deputy, and so that's the person who gets to make the decision. Now, but although it speaks in terms of the sentencing judge, it doesn't speak in terms of the prosecuting attorney that was involved in the sentence.
Thank you. Further debate? Senator McKenzie.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. And under Rule 39, I will disclose, probably not a conflict, but I'll disclose it since I have people come into my office all the time and ask about this issue. And then to debate in favor of this, as a senator from 26 and 33 have said, we certainly could go farther in helping people that have made mistakes or have just done acts that are not excusable but have changed over time. But this is certainly a step in the right direction, and this kind of policy, when you've got a broad policy like criminal justice, you change it incrementally, and it's small steps at a time, and this is definitely a step in the right direction. And I just again want to repeat something I've said before: is as a nation, we lock up more of our citizens than any other country on the planet. And I think that's got to change over time because we just can't afford to continue doing that. But part of addressing that is restoring liberty of our citizens in this respect, and that is where they deserve reduction, have demonstrated that they can be good citizens, that we afford them this opportunity. So I want to thank the senator from 33 and everyone that has worked on this issue to come up with this legislation. Thank you.
Be so noted in the Journal. Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Davis recognized closed debate.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thanks for the debate and also the inquiries. One thing that I need to make sure that you understand, and that is that under subpart 4, on the sex offender registry, the way I read it and the way I understand it, if the person is on the sex offender registry, they are not eligible for any of the relief up above. And in many instances, that's the right standard. There are, however, probably good, legitimate reasons to reconsider that approach on a very narrow and limited basis. But this bill does not speak in terms of that today, and that's something that our successors will have the privilege of wrestling with. Senators, I have a conflict too. I've not ever been convicted of a felony. I've not even been convicted of a misdemeanor. Certainly have more than my fair share of parking tickets, and in many yesteryear, and I probably should knock on wood, I even got a couple of speeding tickets. It has been some years. I'm not as prolific as some on the floor in that fashion. Everybody's falsely looking at somebody else on the floor. I don't know why. But I had a son who struggled. I had a son who was, in my heart, on a path towards change. But he did have some convictions that would have been a challenge for him if he had lived and if he had finished his education. And I believe that every person on this floor has a family member or a friend or a child of a friend with a similar story. And I just want to be able to report to those good parents and others that modest help is on the way, and that's in the form of this bill. And I ask for your aye vote. Debate is closed.
Debate closed. Question is, so Senate Bill 1151 pass the Senate Secretary call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach.
Mr. President, may I have 60 seconds?
60 seconds.
Yes. One thing, fellow senators, I would like us all to realize that whether it's this bill or bills related to misdemeanors, it's one of those things where you can run but you can't hide. Ultimately, when you apply for employment, if you want to make a disclosure under penalty of perjury, whether or not you've been convicted. These things turn up. So at the end of the day, there's only so much that you can do. I recall my son, when he was applying to the Peace Corps, had to disclose that when he was 11, he was busted for stealing Jelly Bellies at Albertsons. And so even much later, these things do turn up regardless of what we try to do to expunge them or get them off the record. I vote aye.
Senator Bach will be recorded as voting aye.
Brackett. Aye. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stinnett. Thane. Tippett. Fick. Work. Winder. Nonini.
Roll call shows 35 ayes, no nays, no absence, excused. Majority haven't voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1151 is passed the Senate. The correction title, hearing none, title is approved. Senate Bill 1151 be transmitted to the House. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, is Senate Bill 1165 in this order of business?
Is, Senator.
Mr. President, I move that all rules of the Senate interfering with the immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1165 be suspended.
Senator Stinnett.
Second the motion.
Been moved and seconded that all rules of the Senate dealing with immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1165 be suspended. The Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst.
Senator Durst.
Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stinnett. Thane. Tippett. Vick. Work. Winder.
Roll call shows 34 ayes, 1 no, no absent excused. Majority two-thirds having voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1165 is before the Senate. Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1165 by Judiciary and Rules Committee, an act relating to attorney's fees, to revise a provision relating to attorney's fees when an insurer fails to pay a person.
Mr. President.
Senator Bach.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1165 be dispensed with. In the Journal Show, it has been read for the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objections, Senator Bach is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President, fellow senators. This is a very simple bill, so I will be very brief, though I will say that I had to fight off attempts by the good senator from 33 to add provisions related to Article 9, but I persuaded him not to amend it in that regard. Just kidding. The bill is, like I said, very simple. Right now, if an insurer fails to pay within 30 days on a claim, then the insured has a right to collect attorney's fees if there ultimately is an action filed and prosecuted to the extent that those attorney's fees become payable. The insurance companies have come to us, and I think we've reached a modest compromise here that in some kinds of insurance, that is uninsured motorists, and in underinsured motorists, that perhaps a little bit more time would be helpful. So we've extended that to 60 days. All parties that were important to this discussion were at the table, and like I said, it's a compromise bill. I urge your yes vote, Mr. President. Fellow senators, debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Bach is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fellow senators, debate is closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, so Senate Bill 1165 passes the Senate. Senator Winder.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent the roll call vote usage for the passage of Senate Bill 1151 now be used for the passage of Senate Bill 1165.
Hearing no objection, roll call shows 35 ayes, no nays, no absence, excused, majority having voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1165 passed Senate. The correction title. Hearing none, the title is approved. Senate Bill 1165 will be transmitted to the House. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, is Senate Bill 1179 in this order of business?
Is, Senator.
Mr. President, I move that all rules of the Senate interfering with the immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1179 be suspended.
Senator Stinnett.
Mr. President, I second the motion.
Been moved and seconded that all rules of the Senate dealing with immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1179 be suspended. Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Gaddy. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Dane. Tippett. Vick. Work. Winder. Hill.
Roll call shows 33 ayes, 1 nay, 1 absent, excuse, 2/3 having voted to suspend rules. All rules of the Senate dealing with immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1179 have been suspended. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1179 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to transportation and vehicles to establish provisions relating to agreements with authorized representatives of contiguous states for certain
Mr. President.
Senator Brackett.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1179 be dispensed with, and the journal show it has been read at length, third time, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objections, Senator Brackett is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. This legislation authorizes the Idaho Transportation Department to negotiate agreements with officials from contiguous states to enter into joint powers agreements. The issue came up this past year with an Attorney General opinion. The reservation of the Shoshone-Paiute tribe in Duck Valley straddles the Idaho-Nevada border. The tribe members on the Nevada side of the border have been, for the past 19 years, been getting their driver's license and their vehicle titles and registrations in Idaho. It's been a matter of convenience, as Mountain Home is closer than Elko, Nevada. But also, Idaho has been their historic trade and commerce direction for the tribal members. But with the Attorney General ruling, that would no longer be possible. And it would create a hardship on the tribal members, but it would also deprive Idaho of some commerce and revenue. Senate Bill 1179 would allow, 1179, I'm sorry, would allow Idaho Transportation Department and contiguous state motor vehicle departments to collect fees and issue driver's license and identification cards. This legislation would also allow tribal members to obtain titles and vehicle registrations in Idaho, notwithstanding the residency requirements. The bill amends Idaho Code 40-317. If you look at the bill on page 2, line 13 through 23, it adds a new section, section 7, that gives the Idaho Transportation Department the authority to enter into agreements with contiguous states to establish reciprocal agreements. And further down, it adds a new section, section 2, 49, 2040, or 24.4, lines 35 through 40. The new section reads, notwithstanding the residency and domicile requirements provided for in chapters 1, 4, and 5 of this title, enrolled tribal members residing and domiciled within the boundaries of a federally recognized Indian reservation, which boundaries are located in whole or in part within the state, shall be considered Idaho residents for the purpose of vehicle registration and vehicle titling in Idaho. Mr. President, the Shoshone-Paiute tribe conducts over 90% of their commerce in Idaho and wants to continue that historic practice. It's a matter of convenience, but also it's an economic benefit to the tribe and also to the state of Idaho. With that, Mr. President, debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Brackett's recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, shall Senate Bill 1179 pass the Senate? Senator Winder.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent the roll call vote used for the passage of Senate Bill 1151 now be used for the passage of Senate Bill 1179.
Hearing no objection, roll call shows 35 ayes, no nays, no absence, excused. Majority haven't voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1179 is passed the Senate. The correction title. Hearing none, the title is approved. And Senate Bill 1179 will be transmitted to the House. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, is Senate Bill 1145 in this order of business?
It is, Senator.
Mr. President, I move that all rules of the Senate interfering with the immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1145 be suspended.
Mr. President, second the motion.
Been moved and seconded that all rules of the Senate dealing with the immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1145 be suspended. The Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Fick. Work. Winder. Getty. Hill. Nonini. Sidaway. Stennett.
Roll call shows 34 ayes, 1 nay, no absent excuse, 2/3 having voted in the affirmative. All rules of the Senate dealing with the immediate consideration the Senate Bill 1145 have been suspended. The Senate now has for final consideration Senate Bill 1145. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1145 by State Affairs Committee.
Mr. President.
Senator Schmidt.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1145 be dispensed with and the journal show it's been read at length a third time, section by section, and placed before us for final consideration.
Hearing no objection, Senator Schmidt is recognized in open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fellow senators, this is a tax cut. And let me explain. The Idaho Industrial Commission charges a tax of 2.5% on the premiums so that they can administer the work that they do. You got a graph that's been distributed to you that shows that balance has grown. So a year ago, they came to us and said, reduce that tax, cut it back to 2%. They've done that, and you see that the line's gone down just a little bit. They say they can do it for another 2 years. So this bill extends that tax cut to December 31st, 2015. If you have questions, I'd be glad to answer them, but debate is open.
The debate, Senator Keogh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under the rules of the Senate, I'd like to disclose a conflict of interest. I serve on the board of directors of the Associated Loggers Exchange, which is a workers' comp insurance company in Idaho who would benefit from this, as would other insurance companies as well. Thank you.
Be recorded in the Journal. Further debate, Senator Getty.
Mr. President, I do sit on the board of the State Insurance Fund, although I don't get compensated for that. And this is not going to help me in any way. It will help the policyholders with the State Insurance Fund because that money will drop right down to dividend lines. Thank you.
It'll be recorded in the Journal. Further debate. Hearing no further debate, Senator Schmidt is recognized. Closed debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed. Question is still Senate Bill 1145. Passed Senate. Senator Winder.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent the roll call vote used for the passage Senate Bill 1151 be now used for the passage Senate Bill 1145.
Hearing no objection. Roll call shows 35 ayes, no nays, no absence, excused. Majority haven't voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1145 passed the Senate. The correction title. Hearing none, titles approved. Senate Bill 1145 will be transmitted to the House. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, is Senate Bill 1109 as amended in this order of business?
It is, Senator.
Mr. President, I move that all rules of the Senate interfering with the immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1109 as amended be suspended.
Senator Stenen.
I second the motion.
Been moved and seconded that all rules Senate dealing with immediate consideration Senate Bill 1109 as amended be suspended. Secretary will call the roll.
Bear, Bayer, Bach, Brackett, Buckner-Webb, Cameron, Davis, Durst, Fulcher, Getty, Guthrie, Hagedorn, Hyder, Hill, Johnson, Keogh, Lacey, Lakey, Lodge, Martin, McKenzie, Mortimer, Nonini, Nuxel, Patrick, Pierce, Rice, Schmidt, Sidaway, Stennett, Thane, Tippett, Vick, Work, Winder, Durst, Stennett.
Roll call shows 34 ayes, 1 no, no absence excused. 2/3 haven't voted in the affirmative. All rules Senate dealing with immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1109 as amended have been suspended. Senate 1109 as amended is properly before the Senate Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1109 as amended by Judiciary and Rules Committee, an act relating to annuity contracts to provide that certain exemptions and protections.
Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the bill be dispensed with and the Journal show has been read at length, section by section, and placed before us for thoughtful and final consideration.
Hearing no objections, Senator Davis recognized open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last year, I was doing some cleanup work on some matters for a client, and it required that I get court approval of whatever the matter was. Notice was given. It was in front of the United States Bankruptcy Court in Pocatello. I was sitting in the courtroom waiting for my turn. And some judges, as they manage their calendar, will look at the calendar and they'll say, well, this doesn't look like this is going to take a lot of time. Some will even send their law clerk out or their courtroom deputy out to kind of take all of our pulse if they've got a whole bunch of matters scheduled. I thought mine was the matter that would take this long, and I told that to the clerk, who in turn told it to the judge, and I was sure that meant I was going to get to go first. I was wrong. The judge called a different case, and it just went on and on and on, and I just thought, oh, I really want to leave. But I didn't think I should say anything, so I didn't. And after the argument was done, the judge said something like this: just in case somebody in this courtroom is listening. And then he tore apart Idaho Code. And then he said something like, just in case anybody in this courtroom is interested, I do not believe the Idaho legislature intends for this to be their policy. I looked around. I was the only legislator in the room. I think he's talking to me. And so I perked up and started to pay attention. And then he got all the way through. He made his ruling. And guess what was the very next case he called? Mine. And we handled our matter. Of course, the court found great value in the thoughtful motion before him and granted the motion. And I started to leave, and I said, Your Honor, just in case you were talking to me, was that Idaho Code 41-1836? And then he said, yes, B, and then he went right down to the subsection. I said, thank you, Your Honor. And that's how we have this bill today. Here is what I understand has happened. First of all, there were some bankruptcy court decisions that determined the policy of the state of Idaho to be this. On appeal, they were reversed, and the policy became this. Your decision is, what do you think should be the right public policy for the state of Idaho? This is my understanding, that during portions of the economic turndown, some debtors sold assets and put them into annuities, and then subsequently filed a bankruptcy. Now, a bankruptcy trustee has certain powers to go and set aside those transfers. They can use transfers that are made consistent with 547B, transfer to or for the benefit of a creditor on account of an antecedent debt made while the debtor was insolvent within 90 days prior to the date of the filing of the petition, and there's a presumption of insolvency unless, of course, there's an insider, then the 90-day goes to 1 year. Or the trustee can exercise the strong-arm powers from 544, et cetera, or et sequitur. And of course, remember that those strong-arm powers also incorporate the Idaho Uniform Fraudulent Conveyance Statute. But the legal standards of proof are like this, and those chapter trustees have not been successful in interpreting it. And so what you are being asked to consider is, if funds are put into an annuity, what portion of those funds should the debtor be allowed to keep, and what portion of those funds will remain exempt? So, for instance, if the senator from 10 were to have an annuity that he has established as a young man, and he has been periodically and regularly making payments into that annuity for an extended or long period of time, he did not do it with the intention of avoiding the payment of his obligations. We don't want to punish that kind of planning. That's thoughtful planning that should be encouraged. But what if he can foresee or anticipate the filing of a bankruptcy, and so he has a garage sale and sells all of his non-exempt assets that he otherwise would lose in a bankruptcy, and he shoves that into an annuity? What this bill says is that anything the senator from 10, I apologize, Senator, the senator from 10 puts in that annuity within 6 months prior to the date of the filing of the petition is not exempt. And the trustee, without having to exercise and prove all of those very heavy fraudulent standards, can just say that the funds in there are not exempt. Why 6 months? Well, under 547B, if they're not an insider, it's a normal arm's length transaction. The trustee can only go back 90 days. But for an insider, 1 year. Well, the debtor's the ultimate insider. So why in the world isn't it 1 year? Because that's the deal I could strike. And with this, the annuity industry does not believe we are doing substantial violence to what they have. I honestly think it should be a longer period of time. But that's the bill, and debate is open.
Further debate? Senator Rice.
Mr. President, I thank the senator from 33 on this and even don't mind being used in his example. These are substantially different than normal kinds of things that people put stuff into leading up to a bankruptcy. If you stick money into a 401k, there are limits on how much you can put in. On an annuity, whatever you got. And so it kind of closes a loophole that gave carte blanche to all sorts of, everything could just dump it in there and because it might be exempt. And so this makes sure that it's not, that we're not, it strikes a good balance between creditors and people who are insolvent. I think it's a good bill, and I appreciate it, and I'll be voting for it.
Further debate? Senator Hill.
Would the senator from 33 yield to a question?
Senator Davis, would you yield?
Mr. President, I am willing to yield.
Senator
however,
Hill for the inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator from 33, that was quite a debate. I was trying to follow you all the way along there until I got to the strong-arm powers. And that's not a term I'm familiar with, at least not since I was in junior high. And just wondered if you could define the strong-arm powers for me a little more in detail.
Oh, thank you. Actually, I'm glad that the senator inquired. I was going to add, however, I had already put the bill in the garbage, and so I didn't want to have to bend over. Let me just tell you this, that if you will take a look at 11 U.S.C. Section 544, it does a very good job in listing them. And what it is Congress in the 1970s, when they were looking at the rewrite of the Bankruptcy Act of 1898, wrestled with what should be an appropriate standard for the strong-arm powers. Aren't you glad he asked? When they wrestled with that decision, they looked at the quality work product of your uniform law commissioners in defining what would be an acceptable standard, what type of fraudulent conduct, what kind of knowledge exists, and they harvested out of our Uniform Act many of those standards, and so they've been codified in it.
Thank you, Mr. President. A further question?
Senator Davis, would you yield?
If he wants me to, I will.
Senator Hill for the inquiry.
Mr. President, Senator from 33, the question was, though, what is a strong-arm power?
Senator Davis for a more succinct response, if at all possible.
Under 547, the trustee only has to prove that certain events have happened, like a transfer or the payment of the money to a creditor and the like. But that has a very narrow window of time. The strong-arm powers can go back up to 3 years for a much extended period of time in the event that they can demonstrate fraud. It also, however, has application beyond that, although 547 talks in terms of transfers, and the courts have interpreted the term transfer to include the perfecting of an interest and the like. 547, however, has a more broad application, but in order for the court to grant the relief normally of the bankruptcy trustee or the debtor in possession, there are heightened standards of fraud that have to be achieved in order to get there.
Thank you,
Senator
Mr.
Hill.
President. Thank you, Senator. It's very enlightening.
Further debate? Senator Davis, recognize closed debate.
Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, Senate Bill 1109 is amended, passed Senate. Senator Winder.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent the roll call vote used for the passage of Senate Bill 1151 be now used for the passage of Senate Bill 1109 as amended.
Hearing no objection, roll call shows 35 ayes, no nays, no absence excused. Majority having voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1109 is amended, is passed the Senate. Their correction title. Hearing none, the title is approved. Senate Bill 1109 is amended, will be transmitted to the House. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent Senate return to the fourth order of business.
Without objection, Senate return to the fourth order of business. Reading communications. Senate's at the fourth order of business.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent Senate advance to the fifth order of business.
Without objection, Senate advance to fifth order of business. Petitions, resolutions, memorials. Senate's at the fifth order of business.
Mr. President, Senators, we'll soon recess till the hour of 3:45 p.m. this afternoon. That's an unusual time, 3:45 p.m., and we need to be able to start as close to that as we possibly can. Prior to recess, I ask if there are introductions or announcements.
Well, Senator, I just hope that the last bill didn't dissuade all these young people in the gallery to not be lawyers or legislators. Further announcements. Senator Sidaway.
Mr. President, we had a little bit of trouble getting the local government tax meeting for this afternoon on the calendar, but for those members of the committee, there will be the local government tax meeting at 3 o'clock, and we'll try to hold that to 45 minutes. And then, Mr. President, on a personal note,
you have the floor.
You know, sometimes some of us become very, very, very reliant on our good friends to remind us about important events in our lives. And yesterday, the good president forgot to remind me that it was my wife's birthday. I tried to convince her that it was his fault and not mine.
I hear that it's his wife's birthday, I'll have 24-hour advance notice, so thank you.
The duties of the president just go on and on. Further announcements. Senator Fulcher. Is it your wife's birthday, too?
No, Mr. President, but thank you. Mr. President, it's, Senators, it is the intent of the majority party to have a caucus once we reconvene this afternoon. And for another announcement, Mr. President.
Senator Fulcher.
Mr. President and Senators, I'd like to introduce some very special guests we have with us today. This is a 6th grade class from the Ambrose School in Meridian, and I believe they are hosted by Mrs. Herrick and Mrs. Tracy. So if you would all stand, and perhaps we could welcome you to the Senate.
If any of them are writing a report on bankruptcy strong-arm, they can go home and fulfill their assignments. Further announcements. Senator Winder.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate recess until the hour of 3:45 this afternoon.
Senator Stinnett.
Second the motion.
Moved and second, Senate recess till 3:45 today. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed nay. The ayes have it. We are in recess. We ought to be able to blow a pretty big hole in that.
We didn't get enough